New Year! Demigods, mortals, and monsters? Yeah, I know, 2020 sucked. But we have a whole new year, 2021, ahead of us, and all we can do is hope it's better. Or else. In this video, we'll cover Percy's early life as well as Percy Jackson and the Olympians, Book 1, The Lightning Thief. This is part 1 of the entire life of Percy Jackson, a playlist you can find in the description below. And now, without wasting any more of your precious time, let's start. Perseus Percy Jackson was born on August 18th of 1993 to the Greek god of seas, Poseidon, and Sally Jackson, a mortal who was one of the rare few who could see through the mist. The mist is a supernatural force that prevents mortals from seeing gods, monsters, and other mythical creatures as what they truly are and changes it to what their minds can comprehend. Percy was named after the famous Greek hero Perseus by his mother for good luck because his namesake was one of the few heroes who had a happy ending and died a peaceful death. When Percy was a baby, his father left to protect him and his mother from Zeus, who could get angry if he discovered that his brother broke the oath of not siring any more children, as the children of the big three could be very powerful because the big three themselves were the three most powerful gods. Their children could possibly destroy Olympus itself, according to a prophecy. Poseidon would occasionally visit Percy in his cradle, which Percy would later describe as a golden glow. As Percy grew older, his mother would tell him that his father had been lost at sea, leaving her to raise him all alone. When he was a toddler, Sally married Gabe Agliano, hoping his horrid smell will mask her son from the monsters that would hunt him, as monsters were attracted by the scent of demigods. Percy despised Gabe as he would frequently bully him and abuse his mother. Percy used to call him Smelly Gabe since he smelled like moldy garlic pizza wrapped in gym shorts. As a toddler, Percy was attacked by a snake but managed to strangle it to death, just like the famous demigod Hercules. Strange things would often happen around Percy, which would result in him getting into trouble. He was expelled from several military academies where they believed paddling is good for the soul. This made a lot of people bully him, and his stepfather suspected something was wrong with him. Once in third grade, a large man followed him around when he was at school, but by threatening to call the police, the teachers eventually got him to leave. However, nobody believed Percy when he said that the man had just one big eye. They thought he was crazy and hallucinating. Another time, when he was in fourth grade on a trip to an aquarium, he accidentally hit the wrong lever on the catwalk when his school was visiting the Sea World Shark Pool and made his class take an unplanned swim. Then there was that time in fifth grade when Percy accidentally fired a war cannon which hit the school bus when he was on a field trip at the Saratoga battlefield. And another time when you get the picture. Percy had the splendid track record of being kicked out of 6 schools over the course of 6 years. In the first book of the Percy Jackson and the Olympian series, Percy is a very troubled 12-year-old boy who is attending Yancey Academy, where his problems seem to be worse than usual. He only has one friend there, Grover Underwood, who is also Percy's best friend and whom Percy often protects from bullies. Grover was an easy target as he was scrawny and cried when he got frustrated. He must have been held back several grades because he was the only sixth grader with acne and the start of a wispy beard on his chin. On top of all that, he was crippled. He had a note excusing him from PE for the rest of his life because he had some kind of muscular disease in his legs. He also walked funny, as if every step hurt him. Percy goes on a field trip to a museum led by Mr. Brunner, the Latin teacher, along with the rest of the sixth grade. Mr. Brunner was this middle aged guy in a motorized wheelchair. He had thinning hair and a scruffy beard, along with a frayed tweed jacket which always smelled like coffee. He told stories and jokes and let kids play games in class. He also had this awesome collection of Roman armor and weapons. So, he was the only teacher whose class didn't put Percy to sleep. During the trip, Percy gets annoyed by the school bully Nancy Bobofit for bullying Grover and, in a fit of anger, accidentally summons water from a nearby fountain to pull her in. Mrs. Dodds, his pre algebra teacher, witnesses the whole scene and tells him to follow her into the museum for a talk. Excuse my accent. Mrs. Dodds was from Georgia and always wore a black leather jacket, even though she was 50 years old. She looked mean enough to ride a Harley right into someone's locker. She had come to Yancy halfway through the year when the last maths teacher had a nervous breakdown. Suddenly, she turns into a winged creature looking like a bat with humongous fangs and attacks Percy. Mr. Brunner comes in and throws Percy a pen. While in midair, the pen transforms into a sword and Percy uses it to kill Mrs. Dodds. Strangely, when he comes back to the bus and questions his classmates, nobody remembers Mrs. Dodds. The only person that could have remembered her was Grover, who kept hesitating before answering and didn't meet Percy's eyes. Everyone else believed their pre algebra teacher was someone called Mrs. Kerr instead, and that they had never met a Mrs. Dodds. Percy returns to school and overhears Grover and Mr. Brunner talking about his life being in danger. This makes him very suspicious since very strange things have been happening recently. At the bus stop, Percy and Grover see three old ladies staring at them while knitting giant socks. Then, one of them snips the yarn, which makes Grover worried that Percy will die soon and Percy extremely suspicious. Later, he arrives home to his horrible stepdad Gabe and his poker friends. Gabe forces Percy to give him his change from the cab driver, and Percy's mother arrives soon afterwards. She tells him that they can go to his favorite beach in Montauk for the whole weekend. Percy, happy that finally something good has happened, packs his things and leaves. That night in Montauk, Percy has a vivid dream. The dream features two animals, a horse and a bird, attacking each other. There is also another voice that was so deep and evil it turned his blood to ice, egging the two animals on. Percy is awoken by the pounding on the door. He and his mother are shocked to see Grover outside their cabin without pants, telling them to leave. Percy is confused at his friend's appearance since he looked like a goat from the waist down and revealed himself to be a satyr, that is, a half human, half goat. His mother seated them in Gabe's prized possession, a 1978 Camaro, and began driving at daring speeds through a blinding hurricane, but it is blasted off the road by a bolt of lightning. As they tried to get out, they saw the Minotaur, a half man, half bull creature who had been chasing them. They managed to dodge it by following Mrs. Jackson's advice to jump out of the way at the last second, but Grover is too slow and is injured by the Minotaur. Percy's mom distracts the Minotaur and it forgets Grover to grab her instead. But she disappears in a flash of golden light. Percy, surging with anger, manages to defeat the Minotaur by jumping onto it, breaking off its horn, and stabbing it in the chest in a fit of rage, very similar to how the hero Theseus had defeated the monster before. Percy drags the unconscious Grover past a hill and then passes out himself when he reaches the porch of a big house. He is cared for in the infirmary by Annabeth Chase, waking up 3 days later. He learns that he was at Camp Half Blood, a place where those like him were trained to survive against monsters and that he drools when he sleeps. Percy finds out that the director of the camp is Mr. D, or Dionysus, the Greek god of wine, who was very unpleasant and moody. He also learns that Mr. Brunner is the hero training centaur Chiron. A centaur is a half human, half stallion. Shown around the camp by Annabeth, who is the head counselor of the Athena cabin, he finds out that all the campers were demigods or half-bloods. He himself was a demigod, but no one knew who his divine father was. After being shown around, he temporarily resided in the Hermes cabin, where all unclaimed demigods went, since Hermes isn't picky about who he sponsors, according to Luke Castellan, the head counselor for the cabin. Luke befriends Percy and treats him with respect, though they have some beef after Percy beats him in a sword fight match. This is a huge achievement for him as Luke was the best swordsman in all of camp. Afterwards, Percy encounters Clarice LaRue, counselor of the Ares cabin, who performs the initiation ceremony which is taking Percy's head in the girls' bathroom toilet. Her plan backfires when Percy shoots water out of the toilet to blast the bullies. This starts their rivalry. Even Annabeth wasn't spared, but when Percy apologizes, Annabeth says she wants him on her team for Capture the Flag, as she wanted Percy to distract Clarice, knowing that Clarice would want revenge. Throughout the course of the game, Percy defeats Clarice and three other Aries children single-handedly when he touches the creek, which heals his wounds and gives him a sudden burst of adrenaline. Just as Capture the Flag ends, a hellhound summoned from the fields of punishment comes out of the forest and attacks him. Percy is nearly killed, but Chiron manages to shoot it, thus killing it. Percy's injury from the hellhound healed by touching the water when instructed by Annabeth, who had seen Percy's water healing powers before. But this time, a holographic trident starts floating above his head, which tells everyone he is the son of Poseidon, therefore explaining his powers over water. As the monster was not from the forest, it meant that someone within the camp had summoned it, because nothing, including weather, would enter the camp's magic boundaries without permission. When the next day arrives, Chiron explains to the son of Poseidon that Zeus had lost his master bolt, and since he had a rivalry with Poseidon, he blames Percy. His reasoning was that Poseidon was attempting to use his son to dethrone him, as Percy was at New York, where Mount Olympus was situated when the bolt was lost. Wow, what an amazing logic. He believed that Poseidon told Percy to get the bolt so Poseidon could become king of the gods, since it is against the ancient laws to steal another god symbol of power. Chiron explains that if Zeus doesn't get his bolt back by the summer solstice, he would begin a war with Poseidon, which would force the other gods to take sides and cause a civil war between them. Percy is instructed to consult the camp's oracle, the Oracle of Delphi, to determine if it really is his quest or someone else's. Percy goes to the attic of the big house and is given a prophecy by the priestess, who is a mummy that can be possessed by the spirit of Delphi. With green mist pouring from the mummy's mouth, coiling over the floor in thick tendrils, it turns into an illusion of Smelly Gabe and his poker friends, with each person hissing a part of the prophecy. Later, Percy narrates the prophecy to Chiron and Grover, as well as accepting the quest of recovering the Master Bolt. The prophecy goes like, you shall find what was stolen and see it safely returned. You shall be betrayed by one who calls you a friend, and you shall fail to save what matters most in the end. So, as the oracle has confirmed it is indeed Percy's quest, he accepts as his father needs his help. Now, whenever the campers go on a quest, it is usually in a number of three, as a trio of demigods attracts less monsters. So, it is a very suitable number. On this quest, Grover is Percy's second, as he was also his best friend, and Annabeth offers to complete the trio as she had been waiting for a quest for a long time. Before leaving camp the next day, Percy is given his father's sword, Anaclusumus, better known as Riptide, along with some helpful items from Luke. Along the way, the trio face many monsters. They fight the Furies, who were the torturer of Hades, the god of death and the underworld, on a bus from Greyhound Station on the Upper East Side, heading for the Lincoln Tunnel. They also faced off against Medusa, who could turn others to stone with just a look, along the riverbank of the Hudson in New Jersey, as well as Echidna and her pet slash son Chimera at the top of the Gateway Arch or the St. Louis Arch in Missouri. When Percy falls into the Mississippi River to get away from Echidna and Chimera, he is advised by a water spirit called a Nereid to go to Santa Monica and seek Poseidon's pearls. Later, Ares, the god of war, the Greek one, not the other one, offers them a mode of transportation westward in exchange for the trio revealing a godly item for him from a ride known as the Thrill Ride of Love of a water park a mile west on Delancey. They do this with Percy and Annabeth going on the ride. Oh, they look so cute together, with Grover acting as guard. It turns out to be a trap designed by Hephaestus, the Greek god of forges, for Ares and Aphrodite. But the trio managed to escape through a huge wave of water with the shield. True to his word, they were provided a transport west via an 18-wheeler cargo truck full of live, wild animals. They arrive in Las Vegas where they stumble upon the Lotus Hotel and Casino. They get trapped in the casino for what seems like a few hours, though it has actually been 5 whole days. leaving them only one day to complete their quest. They take a 4-hour cab ride from Vegas to Los Angeles, which gives them a lot of time to talk. Once in LA, they face Procrustes the Stretcher, now going by Krusty, who has opened his own waterbed palace. Percy manages to trick him into getting stretched in his old bed before finding their way into the underworld. There, they face Hades, who believes Percy stole the Master Bolt along with his Helm of Darkness, which had also been stolen. Hades saved Percy's mother right before she died from the Minotaur because he wanted to use her as bait, which was why she vanished in the flash of golden light. To make things worse, Hades finds the bolt in the backpack given by Ares and demands that Percy exchange the helm for his mom. Torn between saving his mother and finishing the quest, Percy uses Poseidon's pearls to escape to find the missing items. When he returns from the underworld, he finds out that Ares had put the Master Bolt in the bag and had the Helm of Darkness. He challenges the god to a duel for possession of the bolt and the helmet, which he wins due to him being close to water and Ares being too cocky. A dark force stops an infuriated Ares from killing Percy and he vanishes in his divine form, leaving the bolt as well as the helm of darkness behind. Percy gives the helm to the Furies to return to Hades, who sends Sally back to her apartment. Then the trio return to New York to return the bolt to Zeus. Percy gives Medusa's head to Sally, who later uses it to turn Gabe into a statue. Yay! Percy goes back to Camp Half-Blood where everyone at camp congratulates him, Annabeth and Grover since they were the first people to return from a quest since Luke. When summer is ending, Percy can't decide whether to stay at camp or enroll in 7th grade and live with his mom. He finally decides to go train to clear his mind, where he sees Luke training at swordplay. As they drink coke together in the forest, Luke reveals he was behind the theft of the bolt and the helm of darkness and vanishes. However, before leaving, he had summoned a pit scorpion to kill Percy. Percy, however, manages to kill it, but it stabs its stinger into Percy's palm. Try saying that 5 times faster. He tries to reach the camp but collapses. Fortunately for him, several forest nymphs carry him, and after being fed ambrosia as well as nectar, he heals and decides to enroll in 7th grade to come back to camp next summer. I hope you guys enjoyed me breaking down Percy's early life as well as his journey in his first book, The Lightning Thief. Now, I'm pretty sure you know that more books will follow, so please subscribe to my channel so that you are updated exactly when they arrive. I just wanted to inform you guys that I've recently created my own Patreon, patreon.com/superdatabase. You can find the link in the description. Patreon is a membership that you can buy. There are 3 different options. If you buy that, then you can support my channel directly and get exclusive rewards. And now you guys can click on the screen to watch some of my other videos or some new playlists I've created. I hope you guys enjoyed. A very happy new year to you. I will see you in the next video. Until then, stay safe.